I never wanted to spend my summer at Whispering Pines. But when Jess and Mark suggested a weekend at the old campgrounds, I couldn't resist. Nostalgia, they said. The place was legendary for its creepy campfire stories and eerie atmosphere. Perfect for a break from our hectic lives. Little did we know, we were walking right into a real-life horror story. Jess and Mark were my best friends. Jess, the adventurous spirit with a knack for getting into trouble, and Mark, the joker with a heart of gold. And me? I'm Kate, the sensible one. Or at least I thought I was. The campgrounds were just as spooky as we remembered. Tall pine trees whispered secrets to each other in the wind, and the dilapidated cabins creaked under the weight of memories. We unpacked our stuff in the main lodge, a once grand building now swallowed by decay.
Let's check out the old lake,
Jess suggested with a grin.
Sure, because nothing says fun like exploring a haunted lake at dusk.
Mark quipped. I rolled my eyes but followed them. It was all fun and games, after all. As the sun dipped below the horizon, we built a fire by the lake. Jess, of course, wanted to tell ghost stories.
Have you heard about Charlie Blackwood?
She began, her eyes glinting with mischief.
Is this another one of your true stories?
Mark asked, air quoting with his fingers.
No, seriously. Charlie was the camp's handyman. One night, the campers played a prank on him. It went horribly wrong, and he died. They say he still roams these woods, seeking revenge with his custom-made machete.
A custom-made machete? Really? I laughed. We were still laughing when we heard it. A rustling in the bushes. We froze. Mark stood up, his bravado faltering.
Who's there?
He called out. No answer. Just the wind. We relaxed, but a sense of unease settled over us.
Maybe it's Charlie,
Jess whispered, her tone joking but her eyes wide. Or maybe it's just a raccoon, I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. We decided to head back to the lodge, but that night, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. The next morning, Jess wanted to explore the old cabins. Mark thought it would be fun to search for hidden treasures. I insisted we stay together, but they convinced me otherwise.
Kate, we'll cover more ground this way,
Jess said, winking.
Besides, nothing ever happens in groups.
Yeah, because splitting up always works so well in horror movies. I muttered. I watched as they disappeared into the woods, feeling a knot tighten in my stomach. I was rummaging through an old cabin when I heard a scream. Jess. I bolted outside, my heart pounding. Running through the woods, I stumbled upon a horrifying sight. Jess lying on the ground, a pool of blood spreading around her. Standing over her was a figure in a tattered workman's uniform, his face obscured by a weathered mask. And in his hand, a rusted, bloodied machete.
Run!
Jess managed to choke out before the figure plunged the machete at her again. I turned and ran, branches whipping against my face. How was he catching up with me? I was sprinting, but every time I looked back, he was just walking, yet somehow, he was always right behind me. I found Mark near the lake, his face pale when he saw my expression.
Jess's! She's gone!
I stammered.
No way! This can't be happening!
Mark said, his voice shaking.
We need to get out of here.
We sprinted back to the lodge, but the killer was relentless. We barricaded the door, but the machete slashed through the wood like it was paper.
Go out the back! I'll hold him off!
Mark said.
Don't be stupid! We'll stick together!
I protested, but he shoved me toward the back door.
Go!
He yelled. I ran out, but a chilling scream made me stop. I turned to see Mark fall, the killer standing over him, machete dripping with blood. I ran until my legs gave out. collapsing in a clearing. It felt hopeless. How do you fight something like this? My friends were dead, and I was next. I heard footsteps and looked up to see the killer. His mask was cracked, revealing a glimpse of a scarred, twisted face. Charlie Blackwood. His eyes were empty, but his purpose was clear. Revenge. I grabbed a fallen branch and stood up, ready to fight. He swung the machete, and I dodged, managing to strike him in the knee. He stumbled, and I saw my chance. I tackled him, knocking the machete away. We grappled, but he was strong. I grabbed a rock and smashed it against his mask. It shattered, revealing his full face. A grotesque mockery of humanity. In a final act of desperation, I drove the rock into his eye. He screamed, a sound of pure rage and pain, and fell to the ground. Exhausted and bleeding, I stumbled back to the lodge. I called the police, and soon, the camp was swarming with officers. They found Charlie's body where I left it. I felt a twisted sense of relief. It was over. As I sat on the steps of the lodge, wrapped in a blanket, I heard a whisper in the wind. The pine trees swayed, their leaves rustling like a warning. I turned, heart pounding, to see an officer approaching.
Miss, we found something.
He said.
You need to see this.
He led me to the edge of the woods, where they had found another body. It was Charlie. The real Charlie Blackwood, long dead and decomposed. I turned back to the lodge, a chill running down my spine. Who or what had I killed? Whispering Pines may be quiet now, but I know the truth. The horror never really ends. As I drove away, I glanced in the rearview mirror and saw a figure standing at the edge of the woods. Charlie Blackwood's legacy would never die.
Your support means everything to us. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, share, and subscribe. Click the video on the screen for more shadowy delights.